I've got about 6 holes in my socks, so I need to throw them away. Hi! So I wanted to talk about something today that happened last night that really surprised me. It was really unexpected. So I'm going to tell you about it. It's also kind of weird because I filmed a video yesterday that you haven't seen yet. It's coming later this month, talking all about eating disorder vlogs on YouTube. And I just I discussed sort of my thoughts on that. So kind of weird that I did that and then also experienced this in the evening. So there was a channel who'd been recommended to me on YouTube for weeks and weeks, and I finally decided to click on some of the videos on the channel. It's like an anorexia recovery style channel, like I talked about in the video I filmed yesterday. I think that some of those channels or videos can be really problematic, but this one wasn't. It seemed really positive and bright and encouraging, and I liked the look of it. So I watched a few of her videos, and as I was watching them, she's a bit younger than me as well, I started to get this really hot, irritated feeling. I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I realized that I felt jealous, and that took me a few minutes to realize. I was watching bits and pieces of her videos, and it took me a while to realize. And once I sensed that what it was jealousy, I then pretty much immediately realized what I was jealous of and what the real issue was there. It was quite a immediate, emotionally charged reaction, which I do consider that being triggered. I do think I was triggered. And the thing is, nothing bad was happening in her video. She was not talking about numbers. She wasn't showing her body or anything. This channel is a good channel, an objectively positive recovery channel, way better than some of them out there. Yet it still managed to elicit this reaction from me. It elicited that reaction not because of anything that this girl was doing. It was my stuff. This girl did nothing wrong in her videos. It was me having stuff, and I went into it watching it, and I didn't realize it was going to trigger me. I didn't watch it intentionally to do that. And the reason that I felt so triggered by this is because her family members were so supportive. And I know it's hard because it's edited, it's a whole day chopped up, made shorter, so there's obviously massive opportunity to paint her family in good light. That almost didn't really seem to matter to me. I'm 24, I know that things on YouTube can be performative. I know that we're only seeing a very selective few things when people are vlogging. I know all of that, but it didn't really seem to matter, because when you're triggered, it has more to do with you and your stuff and your history and your brain than what is actually happening in front of you, if that makes sense. That's how I view it anyway. And I felt so jealous that she had such a supportive family who would tell her well done after eating a meal, and that she was doing amazing. You're doing amazing, sweetie. And it seemed like the whole family was on board and just encouraging her. There were even some moments when some of her family members sat with her and held her hand as she ate certain things, or had a panic, a meltdown about something to do with food. And even though I knew that there was the possibility of these being very forced, staged almost interactions, it still upset me, because it's the idea of somebody having an eating disorder, going through recovery, and having a really incredibly supportive, emotionally intelligent network of people around them. It's that idea. It doesn't matter if it was real or not, which, by the way, it totally could have been real. I'm not saying this girl was faking it and her family were faking it, but you get what I'm saying. It's the idea of that. Now, I'm probably doing my family a massive disservice here. I'm probably making it sound like they're the worst people on earth. They're not at all. I'm very lucky to have the family I do in so many aspects, because I know that some people are out there with relatives that are doing all sorts of crazy shit. So I do feel very lucky in a lot of aspects. I think a lot of it is factual when I say I didn't have that support recovering or during my eating disorder. You could say it's perception, but in this girl's vlog, her family were telling her, well done, you're doing so amazing for eating certain things. I never really had that. Or people sitting with me physically holding my hand. I've never really had that either. So these things are facts. I'm not telling you this to be super like, look how terrible I've had it. This would be a pointless video if I was just complaining. But I wanted to talk about it. Like, there's several reasons I wanted to talk about it, because I don't think I really knew that I had this like jealousy about how people experienced recovery, and I don't really think that I had the awareness of how much of it for me has been alone. I'm not saying that in a sad way, I'm just saying that as a factual thing. Like, it has been a lot of it just my work alone. And I know that if that's been my experience, it's got to have been someone else's experience too. A lot of you probably have gone through maybe not just ED recovery, but other things completely alone, or maybe with the support of your friends, but not the support of your family. Or a lot of you have maybe toxic family members, abusive even family members who really neglected what you needed. I think what we need to do, this is what I did last night, was I cried about it. I spoke to my boyfriend about it because he was the one who was on hand. I spoke about how I felt and I grieved it. What I was upset about was not having something or the loss of something. So I had to grieve the loss. I had to give myself time to grieve the loss. When you're grieving something, there needs to be like no judgment, okay? You can't judge yourself and say like, I just need to pull myself together. So many other people have had it worse. Like, no, you grieve it because it's sad. Me and you, I'm talking as if you've been through the exact same things as me. We need to grieve the fact that our families were not supportive in the way that we needed them to be surrounding our eating disorders. We have to give ourselves time to be upset about that, because that's a valid thing to be upset about. I personally gave myself like a time limit. I was like 30 to 45 minutes. I'm gonna be upset about this. The reason that I did that is because I have a tendency to wallow, and I have a tendency to, like, I'm not very good at picking myself out of like sadness or grief or something like that. So maybe you don't want to give a time limit on it, that's okay, but that's what I did. I let myself grieve. I spoke to someone about how I was feeling and they validated my feelings and they listened and they empathized, which is exactly what I needed. And then after the time limit, I went and I journaled. Guys, I journal now. I know. I journal now. I used to think journaling was so stupid. I might do a whole video about it actually. I used to think it was really dumb. So I wrote about why I was feeling what I was feeling, and I let myself write whatever I want, okay? And then, this is another thing that I also used to think was really stupid. Then I coloured. I have a colouring book now. Colouring is actually so relaxing. It's like almost a meditation, especially if you do it in silence. So that's what I did to combat the trigger. Please bear in mind that this is literally just a random girl on the internet sharing with you what she did to make herself feel better. I'm not actually like a qualified person in any capacity. I hope that it was helpful in some way. It felt like something that I should share with you. And make sure to watch out for my video coming later this month about eating disorder vlogs in general. Bye. Hello, so I'm back again near the end of September. I thought I'd do a little bit of a voiceover as you watch me make some chili. I love chili, it's one of my favourites, and I underrated it for years. Did I underrate chili, or did I just have an eating disorder? Who knows, it's one of the two. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be cooking up today. So I said this in August's video, that I said August was quite a hard month, and it kind of came out of the blue. Like it just jumped out at me, like how hard to keep on track with eating was. Like it just became really hard for some reason in August. And dude, like September's the same. September's been really hard. I don't really know why, because I was doing so well. The only thing that I'm kind of thinking is the extreme lack of job prospects in my field, like in the creative field, the theatre, dance, art world. The job prospects there at the moment, like post-COVID. I say post-COVID, but we're still in COVID, obviously. Yeah, it's just not looking good for my area of work. So maybe that has something to do with it. I mean, probably does. A lot of the time, I spoke about this in my last video, so kind of repeating myself here, but sometimes our eating disorders are an unconscious manifestation of trying to control certain aspects of our life. So when our life feels out of control or stressful, or we don't like what's going on, our ED creeps in. which I think, I mean, just trying to like analyze myself here, guys, like I think that's probably what's happening. It hasn't been super bad. I'm making it sound like the last 2 months has been incredibly hard, but the ED voice has been kind of loud. I've had a few kind of restricted days. I've had a few times where I've a comfort eat has almost led into a binge eat, because I think that we all, as human beings, we all emotionally eat, we all comfort eat. I think that's pretty normal. I don't know what any health professionals would say, but I think, you know, if you've had a bad day at work and you come home, you eat a chocolate bar. Talking about chocolate, I put chocolate in this chili, in case you didn't know. That is an amazing way to make your chili like have such depth of flavour and so rich. Anyway, but yeah, if you come home from work and you have a bar of chocolate because you had a hard day, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Or if, you know, you have a couple of bars of chocolate, I don't personally think there's anything wrong with that. I think binge eating is something very different to that. That's my experience of it anyway, and that's my knowledge, the research I've done in it. So yeah, I've had a few moments of comfort / emotional eating that have almost gone into a binge, but I've been resisting that quite well. One of the most long-term ways I've found of resisting binging, and it's going to sound so obvious, but it's just eating more and stop restricting your food in your daily intake, because that for me, I think, is a lot of the time why I binge, is because my body's just like, oh my god, woman, give us some food. And I know that that's probably the case with a lot of people. So yeah, that was a bit of a ramble at the end here as you watched me make some chili. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. I also want to remind you that I'm putting out a video every day for this month, or at least trying my hardest to. So come back tomorrow for another video, and I'll see you then. Bye.